Hello everyone and welcome back to Affinity for Commander. My name is Alex.
And my name is Martin.
And today we'll be going over the newest legends from the streets of New Capenna. From this we'll be deciding if these cards are Commander material, better in the 99, or better elsewhere.
As a note for this video, we won't be referring to any of the legendary creatures found in the 5 Commander precons. Here we're just going to be looking at the commanders from the main set.
As always, if you'd like to purchase any of the cards we're talking about here, after the set is released of course, or any other cards for that matter, then be sure to do so through our affiliate links in the description box below. It doesn't cost you anything extra, and helps the channel out a lot.
And a huge thank you to all of our amazing patrons for making content like this possible. If you would like to get access to fantastic rewards such as custom tokens and playmats, and get into Patreon exclusive games of Alex and myself, then be sure to check out our Patreon page, link in the description.
If you would be looking to bling out your deck as well, then be sure to head over to Alter Sleeves and browse their extensive list of perfect fit altered sleeves. Again, links in the description. Now, on to our new potential commanders. Giada, Font of Hope is a 2-mana, 1 generic, 1 white for a 2/2 legendary creature angel with flying and vigilance. She reads, each other angel you control enters the battlefield with an additional +1/+1 counter on it for each angel you already control. She can also tap to add white mana to your mana pool, but this can only be spent to cast an angel spell.
So, I really like this card. I think as far as angel tribal commanders go, she is my new go-to for that. I know that she loses any red or any black that angels can be in, but there's still 148 potential angels that can go in the deck, so more than enough to cut out the rubbish and keep the good stuff.
I mean, yeah, she's literally 2 mana, which I think is the cheapest angel ever printed. Like, she's a bear angel.
I think there's a 1 mana one, but it's like a 1/1. So,
yeah, she's massively cheap. She ramps in white. And I originally misread it, but it's a fact that it says, like, you get a +1/+1 counter for each angel you control. So if you have 2 angels, the next angel enters with 2 +1/+1 counters.
Yeah, so I was looking at this and thinking, how can you make the most out of that? And there's so many angel token producers that work really well, like Pohelion 2, when it attacks you make 2 tapped attacking angels, which both come in with counters on them. Yeah, there's Entreat the Angels, which if you miracle it is just white and then make a load of angels. And then one of your favourite cards is the Luminox Ascension.
Oh yeah.
Where if you've got counter on, you can pay 2 mana to make an angel. So all of this plus the angels you'll be playing, it's just really good. And if she's out, if you play a 4/4 angel like the standard, it becomes a 5/5, and that extra 1 power and toughness is a really big difference.
Yeah. She's got flying vigilance herself. So
yeah.
Definitely not a bad card, and I would definitely say commander material.
I would agree. I would say she will see play as a commander, yeah. Up next we have Errand, Street Artist, who is only 1 blue mana to cast. She has Flash, Defender, and Haste, and for 1 and a blue and tapping her, you can copy target spell you control that wasn't cast. You may choose new targets for the copy.
I feel like just that meme of mono blue copy spells. Daring today, aren't we, sir?
Yeah, so the fact that she has Flash and Haste and a low mana value means you can just stick her in unexpectedly for no mana.
Yeah.
So you can do some sneaky things where suddenly she's there. And if you're copying spells, then you've got things like Norse's Reversal and Twin Cast to get her ability with.
Yeah, like the fact that
it's quite limiting, isn't it?
Yeah, the fact that she has to copy only a spell that wasn't cast, which is usually just means copied abilities or spells you've stolen that you didn't cast.
Yeah, it's not really enough to make a deck around, in my opinion.
I would definitely say she can go into like the 99 of Calamax.
Or Rigo of 2 Reflections.
Yeah.
Like, yeah, it should be a super strong support player, but not really good enough as a commander.
God, no. Jaxus the Troublemaker is a 2/3 human warrior legendary creature who has for 1 red mana and tap, discard a card. Create a token that's a copy of another target creature you control. It gains haste, and when this creature dies, draw a card. Sacrifice it at the beginning of the next end step, activate only as a sorcery. And she herself has bullets for 2.
So, I can't help but think of Felden of the Third Path when I look at her.
You were going to say that.
He's one of my favourite commanders just because he's weird, he's red reanimated, you don't see it very often. And she's just a bit pants compared to him. So, Felden is cheaper mana cost-wise. And she requires you to have cards in your hand to discard. She requires you to have a creature on the battlefield to copy, non-legendary creature unless you want it to die straight away. Whereas Felden just needs you to have something good in your graveyard. That's all he requires. So, I don't know, and I feel like you're discarding cards, so you're losing hand advantage. And I know she will get you cards back because her ability says when the creature dies, draw again. But it's not really card draw, it's like false advertising because you've had to discard to make it work. So,
yeah, your hand keeps the same size.
Yeah, and the only upside I can see to this is if you blitz her in and activate her ability, that's only 3 mana. And just like the mono blue one we just talked about, it's sneaky, it can come out of nowhere. I feel like there's a lot of cards from this set which have haste that like don't have any right having haste, but it means you can do a lot more surprise plays, which is cool. But I just don't really like her. I feel like there's too many variables before she becomes good.
Yeah, especially, I just say, you blitz her out, you can do it once, because then she herself gets sacrificed. And again, nothing about the card is card advantage, unless the thing you're copying has an ETB or an attack tree that gets you cards.
In mono red.
Yeah, in mono red, yeah, no.
So I'm going to say she's a bust.
I'm going to say no. Better elsewhere.
Up next, we have everybody's favourite Praetor, Orobrask Heretic Praetor. So for 3 and 2 red, you get a 4/4 with haste, another hasty creature. At the beginning of your upkeep, exile the top card of your library. You may play it this turn, and at the beginning of each opponent's upkeep, the next time they would draw a card this turn, instead they exile the top card of their library, they may play it this turn. It's quite wordy for red, that is, isn't it?
This was so good, and I was like, oh, Orobrask has redeemed himself right up until that last sentence. And I was like, you stumbled at the last hurdle, didn't you? You had to put they can play their own cards.
Yeah, like saying the first part is you get an extra card to play in your turn.
Yeah, which is the red, like that's how red has quote-unquote card advantage.
Like, I don't see how the second ability is helpful to you in any way, or even that much of a hindrance to your opponents.
It's only because I spend far too much time on Twitter that someone pointed out this to me. That essentially it is, you're stopping your opponent from drawing a card in their normal draw step. They have to exile it. And if they can't then play it, or, it's too high costing for what they've got out, then they've essentially just not drawn a card and you've exiled the top card of their library.
Sure, but why couldn't this have been if your opponent would draw a card, they exile it instead and they may play it? For every card, why does it have to be the first card they draw?
Don't get me wrong, it's still bad.
Yeah, if it's still bad. The case of, instead of drawing, your opponent exiles the card and they may play it this turn, it stops people from keeping stuff back, which I think's really good. You can't prepare for the future, you can still play all your cards, but you have to do it there and then. Whereas having that whole, it's just the first card you draw, I just don't think it's good enough. To me, it's a bust as well.
I like the fact that you get card advantage from it, which is the red way of doing it, but it's a sort of theme of it's trying to force other players to play like red does, but other players have access to other things that aren't red, so it doesn't really work. Camella, Glamour Thief, is a 2/4 vampire rogue for 1 generic, 1 blue, 1 black, and 1 red. She has haste, some of a theme going on here. For 1 generic and tap her, you can add Grixis colours to your mana pool. Spend this mana to only cast instants or sorceries though. When Camella dies, return up to 1 target instant or sorcery card from your graveyard to your hand.
So, this card technically produces 2 mana, well, increases the amount of mana you have by 2, and also fixes your colours, which is nice. Has haste, as we mentioned, does everything else in this set. And the spell recursion is quite nice. It means you can get your Tormentor Hailfire or your other big spell back when she dies. I think she slots nice into a 99 of any spell-based Grixis or above deck.
I would completely agree.
She's not really commander material, is she?
Anytime a card that's legend has the word dies on it, you have to have a very good reason for this to die.
Yeah.
Like a Lender of the Dusk Rose has a very good reason to die, and we accept that. But I'm not having my commander die just to get back 1 instant or sorcery. I would say, great in a 99.
Up next we have Evelyn the Covetous, with possibly one of the most confusing to describe mana costs available. It's 2 generic, a blue or a black, a definite black, and then a black or a red. You get a 2/5 flashy vampire. No haste this time, but
no haste, yeah.
I mean, flashes fast anyway. Whenever Evelyn or another vampire enters the battlefield under your control, exile the top card of each player's library with a collection counter on it. Once each turn, you may play a card from exile with a collection counter on it if it was exiled by an ability you controlled, and you may spend mana reserves any mana to cast it. So you can't do it if your opponent's also playing Evelyn, then you can't both steal its other stuff.
I like her.
Mm-hmm.
She's good. Don't get me wrong, she's not, OP banned day one type material.
She's not Edgar Markov.
She's not Edgar Markov. But that's the thing, I think that's kind of the point, is that it wasn't meant to be a case of, you can either have Mardu vampires or Grixis vampires, which there's not a contest. Do you know how many blue vampires there are?
Yes, actually. I looked this up. So, not just blue, but vampires that have blue. She can run 21 vampires that Edgar can't, but none of them are really good. However, she can't play 45 vampires that Edgar can, and we're talking cards like Elenda the Dusk Rose, Forerunner of the Legion, Legion Lieutenant, stuff you actually really want to play. So, in terms of quality of vampire, for the colour you're getting specifically for her, not as good, but she still has access to 290 vampires, so you are going to have enough to make a deck and not be scrounging for the bottom of the pile for it.
Exactly, because that's the thing, like, she's not meant to be, I don't think, meant to be a vampire trouble. She's meant to be a steely commander.
But you do need vampires to steal.
Yeah, but you need some vampires, just some value vampires, and more steal. I think that's what the blue is there for, is to add more stuff like blatant thievery or bribery in there, more steal effects.
The thing that would have made this card for me would be if you cast a creature with her ability, it becomes a vampire. That would then...
No.
No?
Because then you can just loop that.
Well, you
so
can't. You can only
hard.
use it once per turn. So
True.
It would exile another card. You wouldn't have to play any vampires in the deck because every creature you cast with her ability would be a vampire. You could still play the lords and things. To me, that would be, this isn't just another vampire tribal commander. This is I'm turning people into vampires. I'm getting your stuff. That to me, I would play that commander hands down, no question. But as it is, Edgar's going to stay, and she's not going to go anywhere.
But I do like the card design. Like it's flash. I'll flash it in your end step, and then in my turn, I've got all my open mana to cast whatever I just exiled.
And play their lands.
Yeah, and play their lands.
Yeah,
exactly. So I think she's. I would still say she's a commander. Like if someone sat down to play her, I wouldn't be like, "What you playing that for?" Like it'd be like, "Oh yeah, I'll see how this commander." Our next commander is the best commander in the entire set, and I won't hear any objections to it. It's fantastic. Is Falco Spara Pact Weaver. Falco is a 3/3 bird demon for 1 generic, 1 green, 1 white, and 1 blue. He has flying, trample, and he enters the battlefield with a shield counter on him, which means that if he would be destroyed, he's not, and you remove the counter, so it's one-off indestructibility. He also has, you may look at the top card of your library anytime, and you may cast spells from the top of your library by removing a counter from a creature you control in addition to paying their other costs.
So let's just summarise some things here. Comes in with protection.
Yep.
That's always a good sign. Gives you hidden information. You know what the top card of your library is at all times.
Yep.
Allows you to cast any spell from the top of your deck as many times as you have mana and counters to remove to do so.
Yep.
Like, this is really good. And then you look at the first thing that comes to mind is probably, this has got a +1/+1 counter, let's take this off. Like, you can remove -1/-1 counters from creatures, say the Scorpion God's Foot counters, or if your creature comes in with -1/-1 counters, you can take those off. Poison counters, so that pesky infect player can go away.
You can't remove a poison counter because from a creature, you as a player have the poison counters.
But your creatures can get
-1/-1 counters.
Yeah.
But not poison counters.
Yeah, things from the effect poison, sorry,
Sure.
that's probably badly explained. Cumulative upkeep counters.
Yeah.
I think they're called age counters, I don't even know, to make things cheaper. There's a lot of different things you can do with this. There's a lot of options, and there's such a huge pool of cards that are synergistic with counters as well. Yeah. It's very open. There's a lot you can do with it. There's a lot of powerful strategies in there.
Yeah, the fact that you also, essentially just taking him on the surface of it essentially increases your hand size by 1. Because
yeah.
you can cast the card and you can look at it. So essentially you've now got one more card in hand.
Well,
But then equally from that, there's loads, as you say, you can make him just generically good bound counters, or you can make him absolutely combo-tacular with something like Devoted Druid, which taps for a green, and then you can untap by putting a -1/-1 counter on it. Or then remove that -1/-1 counter to add a green. And then you just have like infinite mana, which the Sensei's Divining Top, and you just draw your entire library.
yeah, and there's just little things like, not going infinite like that, but let's say you've got 7 mana and you play an Avenger of Zendikar and then play a land.
Ooh,
You
that's
now
that's a lot of
have
counters.
7 plants with counters on them that you can potentially cast the top 7 cards of your. I mean, you're going to hit land at some point, but it's just little things like that where this is insane value for what it costs.
Yeah.
So I'm with you on this one. I think it's possibly the most powerful commander in terms of versatility in the entire set. Up next, we have Jetmir, Nexus of Revels. For 1, a red, a green, and a white, you get a 5/4 legendary cat demon. Creatures you control get +1/+0 and have vigilance as long as you control 3 or more creatures. Creatures you control also get +1/+0 and trample if you control 6 or more creatures. And creatures you control also get +1/+0 and have double strike as long as you control 9 or more creatures.
Well, it's going to go straight in Rin and Siri, that's assured.
Because it's a cat.
Well, it's a cat, but also, like, it's Naya tokens, which in Ren and Siri, if I've got Ren and Siri out, he comes in, makes a dog, and automatically has the first status effect of giving everything +1/+0 on vigilance.
See, I get you, but to me, the abilities of needing so many creatures makes you want to go wide, but if you've got a load of plants, 0/1 plants, you're not getting the most out of his abilities, so you can't be just weenies. To me, it needs to be decently sized creatures going wide. But one thing which you might not have thought about, which I didn't think about until I read the card a million times, was his effects also buff him. So he can potentially be, with 8 other creatures out, an 8/4 Vigilance Trample double striker, which isn't too hard to do to get 8 creatures out. So you could just win with commander damage in 2 hits.
That's a very good point. I didn't know Raz actually buffed him, yeah.
Yeah, so like, again, versatility, fantastic. I really like him.
He's pretty good. I would definitely... He's not what I would say as like a Naya proper commander. I think he definitely goes better in the Naya token decks that there already are.
I don't know. I mean, yes, he will go in every Naya token deck that exists, but I can still see people playing him as a commander. He is strong enough with his ability. Just that +3/+0 Lord effect is really strong.
But then that's the thing, like, you'll get the first one definitely most of the time. The second one you might get. If you've got, like, nearly 10 creatures out, you've probably already won that game.
Depends on the size of the creatures, but we're going to have to agree to disagree. I think it's the first one so far we kind of disagree how good it is, but only time will tell.
Our next legend is Ginny Faye, Jetmir's second, who, for 1 red or green, a green, 1 green or white, is a 3/3 elf druid who has the effect of, if you would create 1 or more tokens, you may instead create that many 2/2 green cat creature tokens with haste, or that many 3/1 green dog creature tokens with vigilance.
So, first of all, can we just say how amazing that artwork is, where she's got a cat walking down a catwalk with a dog by her side. Like, I think that's really cool. But other than the artwork, what caught my attention first from this card is the cat tokens have haste.
Yes, they do.
So it is so easy to make 20 tokens in your turn at sorcery speed, but then turn them into cats, then you've got instant attacking cats, which another sneaky play you can do in the right conditions.
See, I was thinking more like you can turn all the... normally, if you want to make tokens at instant speed, they're normally 1/1s. They're tiny. It's very rare you make a token that's massive, but being able to go in your end step, secure the wastes for all my mana, but I'm going to have them be 3/1s with vigilance, that's very different to making 1/1s, making 3/1s. That is 3 times the power you would have otherwise had.
Yeah, and one of the things that I think is the best about this is it's tribal tokens at the end of the day.
Yeah.
But with token synergy. So you can literally play Krenko's commands make 2/1/1 goblins, Raise the Alarm makes 2/1/1 soldiers, and Guiltleaf Ambush makes 2/1/1 elves. What do these have in common? Nothing, unless they're actually all 2/2 cats. And then cards like King of the Pride and Regal Caracol now buff them and give them lifelink, and
Yeah.
you give yourself synergy where there was none before. And for 3 mana, that is really good.
She's a very reasonably costed commander, and you can just cast her for triple green if you really want to, if your mana base is that weird.
Yeah, I think she's great. I think she will definitely see play as a commander. I would like to play her as a commander.
I think she will definitely see play as a commander, but again, she goes straight in when necessary.
Next, we have Lagrella the Magpie. For 1 green, 1 white, and 1 blue, you get a 2/3 human soldier with possibly the most complicated wording of a rule text in the set. When Lagrella the Magpie enters the battlefield, exile any number of other target creatures controlled by different players until Lagrella leaves the battlefield. When an exile card enters the battlefield under your control this way, puts 2 +1/+1 counters on it.
This is not a commander. It is frankly unplayable because of the amount of time you have to spend explaining what the card does to everyone else at the table.
See, I don't know if I can't tell if that was a bit of a joke on your part, but
I am deadly serious.
I think she has commander potential, personally. Now, hear me out. 3 Banisher Priests for the price of 1.
That sounds like a joke. 3 Banisher Priests walk into a bar.
But it's the same cost as a Banisher Priest.
It is, yeah.
Okay. That's pretty good anyway. So that's worth putting her in the 99 of a deck that you want to get rid of your opponent's best things.
Like, the Rhino the Flickers things.
Oh, Rune of the Hidden Realm.
Yeah.
But, right, here's my take on it. You, player, and only exile your best creature.
Okay.
Nothing in your opponent's have, just your best creature. You board wipe, everything dies, you get your best creature back. Maybe it's got an ETB, but it comes back with 2 +1/+1 counters. And you can then successfully do that as many times as you has board wipes because she's in your command zone. So it is board wipe insurance, plus you get more out of it than your opponent would.
That just seems like blinking with a lot of extra steps.
Well, no, because you've wiped the board.
No, I'm not convinced.
Well, you stay non-convinced.
I will stay not convinced.
Like, don't get me wrong. I'm not saying this as the best commander ever, but I'm seeing a value there where you are overlooking it.
I think there is some value to be getting the most jankest of blink decks, but I am 100% not sold on this. Our next potential commander is Lord Zander the Collector, who is a 6/6 vampire demon noble, because they couldn't fit any more on the text line, for 4 generic, 1 blue, 1 black, and 1 red. He reads, when Lord Zander the Collector enters the battlefield, target opponent discards half the cards in their hand, rounded down. Whenever Lord Zander attacks, defending player mills half their library, rounded down. When Lord Zander dies, target opponent sacrifices half the non-land permanents they control, rounded down.
So can I start referring to you as Lord Zander?
Please don't. Please.
It's close enough, right?
I'll tell you what, I'll buy a suitable amount of land, then you can start referring to me as that.
So, first thing, 7 mana. That's a lot for a commander.
That's a lot of mana for any commander in Grixis. That is backbreaking.
So, looking at their abilities, because there's quite a lot going on this card.
Yeah.
It's kind of, I feel like it's that 7 mana, it's worth what you pay for.
Yeah.
So, the enter battlefield effect, it's not great, really. Don't care for it.
The ETB essentially says, you player, I don't like you, don't have cards. It's very much like, you're either picking on the target of the table or the mono blue player or someone.
Yeah. If you've got someone's just drawn 10 cards, how about you?
Yeah.
The attack trigger, for a mill deck?
Yeah, for a mill deck. That's pretty solid mill half.
Against the graveyard deck, not so much. But...
yeah, don't mill the Merrin player.
And then the final one, the death trigger, I think that's the best of the 3.
Yes.
So, hear me out. If you're not playing it as a mill commander because, like we've already established, the second ability works well, no. I would play it as a clone commander. Because that... whoa, don't give me that face. That you can't see, but I just gave you a really weird face. If you copy him with a clone effect and make a copy of him, you get its ETB. State-based actions make you sacrifice 1, you get its death trigger.
Cool.
So you have got the ETB and the death trigger, the best 2 effects on the card, and yeah, that's about all I could come up with that was good.
So just for that point, what's the average length of a commander game?
10 turns? I can't even remember.
11 to 12 turns.
Okay.
So let's say you're not ramping in Grixis, so you get this guy on turn 7. You then have to wait a turn to then clone effect him, so you're on turn 8. And only at turn 8 is your game plan finally starting to come in ever so slightly into view.
Oh, don't get me wrong. In terms of what I'd do with him, he would not be in a commander deck. But I'm looking for ways this could be a playable card, Alex. Thinking outside the box.
No, the way I would definitely play him is in a reanimator deck. So something like Cedrus or Obeka. Something where I can just go, I'm going to bury the live Lord Zander or entomb him, then I'm going to animate dead him, and then end of turn, Obeka trigger, tap, get rid of the sacrifice thing. I've now got him out for free. And then I've got his ETB. The reanimates usually have haste, so I can get his attack trigger. And then if I don't get to keep him, he then also dies, so I get all 3 of his triggers. And then he goes back to the graveyard.
I guess that works, yeah.
That's highly how I would name him, as just a really good reanimation target, because then his mana cost is meaningless.
I think really good at pushing it a bit, but sure.
I think he's really good as a reanimation target.
If you say so, dear. Our next legendary creature is Mr. Orpheo the Boulder. For 1, a black, a red, and a green, you get a 2/4 Rhino Warrior with whenever you attack, double target creature's power until the end of turn.
I mean, if you really want, like, the first thing here in my mind was, like, if you really want Kobolds to win with commander damage, like, or I can't really think of another Jund commander that having his power doubled is really relevant, because I can't see him as a commander.
Yeah, I wrote it down, like, strong ability, but not particularly worthy of being your commander, so in the 99. But what really made me sad was Godzilla, the red and green one, cares about your creature's power because they they can only be destroyed if they take damage equals their power rather than toughness. He would be super in that because you just make them fight this. But then he has
to be the commander, which you don't want.
Yeah, I mean, it's just one of those where he comes in, he's going to be a nuisance if you've got a creature with trample or a creature with double strike, but
I would definitely. If you've got a really heavy attack deck, like Saskia would be hilarious. Because you pick one person, you attack that person that you've picked with Saskia's ability, you double a creature's power, so they take 4 times the relevant damage.
Yeah, but in the 99.
Oh yeah, in the 99, 100%. Our next legend is one I'm actually really excited about. Is Ognis the Dragon's Lash. For 1 generic, 1 black or red, a red, 1 red or green, you get a 3/3 Vaishno Warrior. Ognis has haste, and whenever a creature you control with haste attacks, you create a tapped treasure token.
So, you might think, there can't be that many creatures with haste in these colours to make a tribal deck around.
Half of them are in this set.
Yeah, that's true. How many creatures do you think exist that don't have haste, but have the word haste somewhere in their text? Because I couldn't narrow it down fast enough.
In all my... In Jund?
In Jund, yeah.
I'm gonna... 200?
484.
That was close.
Now again, that's not... They might have the word tap, give a creature haste.
Yeah,
I just use a search.
Relevant haste.
There's enough
for
to make a deck around
haste
it.
tribal.
And I just love how it rewards aggressive strategies by giving you more mana in the form of treasure. You could run a artifact sub-theme because it makes a lot of treasure. You could run a sacrifice sub-theme because the treasures are sacrificed.
Yeah.
You've got the aggro early game haste, and then you can use all that treasure you use to cast a really big X-Burn spell or a Tormentor Hailfire. Like, it's got the late game as well, so there's just so much about it that I really like.
See, there's a few things, like, it's deceptively simple, because, like, on reading it, like, oh, it's just really aggro, but, like, he himself has haste. He doesn't lose haste. Like, it doesn't become relevant ever again after the first turn, but he still is a creature with haste, so when he attacks the second turn, he still makes a treasure.
Yeah, that's a really good way of thinking. I never thought about that
before. I thought was really cool. Or you can just put something like anger in your graveyard. Now everything has haste. Or like either the boots do that, or any red instances like expedite. Like you can give a lot of stuff that you need haste. But like I saw a lot of people complain like, oh well the treasures are tapped to their worthless. I'm like, yes, but if they weren't tapped, you could just play Aggravated Assault, which is an enchantment that lets you have additional combat steps with mana, and just win the game right then and there. It's like, there are reasons behind design choices.
It sucks that they come in tapped if you're playing it, but like I can totally see why.
Yes, definitely Commander.
100%. Next we have Queezer, Augur of Agonies, which is a 3/4 Cephalid Advisor for 1, a white, a blue, and a black. Whenever you draw a card, target opponent loses 1 life and you gain 1 life.
So you were really angry about this. Not because of the card, but because you wanted Cephalids to be more octopusy.
Yeah, like the old cephalids are it's Octopus Man or like Davy Jones from Pirates movie. But these are like more like the Mass Effect Cesari, like just kind of a bit blue with a few tentacles in the hair. And yeah, flavor wise, it's a no from me.
The card itself, I quite like as a commander. Like all you do is just build this with protection for the commander and nothing but draw spells. And
see, I'm very split on this, right? On one hand, it's bad Nekasar the Mindraiser.
True.
It doesn't hit everyone, it hits a single person, and also you lose access to the majority of your wheels not being in red.
Yeah.
But on the other hand, it goes infinite very easily with multiple cards. So Drogskull Reaver, Lich's Mastery, and Shabraz the Sky Shark, they all say whenever you gain a life, draw a card. And then this says when you draw a card, gain a life and target opponent loses a life. So as long as you can kill all of your opponents by dealing them enough damage or making them lose enough life before you realize the cards to draw, because once you start, you can't stop it. Then you win.
that's the one thing you have to be careful of, because it is target opponent not each. Like you have to make sure all their life totals combined are less than the number of cards you have in your library.
Or a way to shuffle it back, or a way to kill the thing that's causing it.
Yeah.
But
that was the thing that got me, is like if it was each opponent, it would be a slam dunk, but like it's uncommon. But the fact that it's just target opponent, like it does not stop that combo potential, but it makes it a bit more, you have to be a little bit careful not to die yourself.
Yeah, I'm going to just stick it into a Laura Ageless aesthetic, because I can just keep using the ability of you gained life, pay 1, everyone loses a life, draw a card. Everyone loses another life, and just keep so I can draw as many cards as I want.
So I would still say, like, definitely of the uncommons we're looking at, this is the closest to going as a commander straight away.
Closest to not being rubbish.
Yeah. Speaking of being rubbish, Rafine the Scheming Seer is 1 white, 1 blue, 1 black for a Sphinx Demon that is a 1/4 with flying and ward 1. Whenever you attack, target attacking creature conveys X, where X is the number of attacking creatures. And we haven't spoken, but convey is you draw that amount of cards, discard that amount of cards, and you put a +1/+1 counter on that creature for each non-land card you discard this way. So something might be convey 1, you discard 1, convey 2, you discard 2.
So let me tell you a story of why I hate this card. Just by its mana cost. I
didn't realise there was a story.
There's a story, right. So I'm a Nunesh player. I love my Sphinxes. And when I saw the artwork for this spoil, I was like, yes, Sphinxes in this set, Unesh is getting some support. The single Sphinx in this set can't go in Unesh, and I was deeply saddened by this. But, personal grievances aside, it's a nice discard outlet. It lets you cycle through your deck a bit. Maybe play Reanimator as it, because you're discarding lots of cards.
Yeah.
Maybe some sort of tokeny strategy, because you want to get as many triggers off it as possible. Like you want the ability to have as many things. But there's just so much going on. None of it's particularly good. None of it's particularly helpful. Ward 1's just a bit insulting, really. Oh no, my kill spell costs 3 instead of 2. I can see why maybe in a standard format or a limited format would be really good. But in Commander, it's just too small to make it worthwhile.
I see what they were going for. Like you look, like before you start like delving into it, a 3-mana 1/4 flyer as a commander, like, okay, I'm interested. And then it says, when you attack and convey, you make things bigger, you discard. It's like, okay, but then when you sort of like look at it and pull it together, it's just really naff.
Yeah, it's underwhelming, I think is the word.
Yeah, not for us.
Speaking of underwhelming, Rigo, Streetwise Mentor, is a green or a white, a white, a white, or a blue for a 2/2 cat citizen. Rigo Streetwise Mentor enters the battlefield with a shield counter on it, similar to the Falco?
Don't you dare
Falcon
say
Punch!
Don't you dare say Falco's name in the same sentence as trash.
Whenever you attack a player or planeswalker with 1 or more creatures with power 1 or less, draw a card.
Would you like tribal weenies and Bant?
Well, yeah, that was an answer like, ooh, tribal weenies, but then I saw it's got some card draw.
It does.
Okay, but only per player and planeswalker you attack. So if you swing tribal weenies at someone, you only get 1 draw for every weenie going at them. So it's not really...
Yeah, like...
Not really that good.
You can draw 3 at a maximum, which is pretty good.
Well, no, if they've got planeswalkers, that's more.
True, but
then you've also
they're
got...
also 1 power.
Yeah, you can't buff them until after they've attacked, or else you don't get a trigger, in which case, how are you buffing them? And he doesn't give them any sort of evasion himself. You have to provide creatures that have evasion already. And just like the last one, having a load of 1/1s doesn't win when you've got to deal with 3 players with 40 life. Like, again, in Standard where you've got 20 life or Sealed, that's actually the chip damage is useful. In Commander, chip damage doesn't really do a lot, especially if you haven't got much to back it up with. So
it feels very much like you as a player and a deck builder would have to meet this commander a lot more than halfway, and the commander's not willing to budge to help you.
Well, it's like, you look at Yuriko, who wants little things, but they have a way of cheating bigger things out when you hit with little things. And
they can do loads of stuff.
Whereas this is just like, Yuriko can be like, it's a 1/1 unblockable. No, it's not. This just goes, it's 1/1 unblockable. Have a card for your troubles. Yeah. So, this is a bust for me.
No. Roko Cabaretti Caterer, who is X and red, green, and white for a 3/1 elf druid. When this card enters the battlefield, if you cast it, you may search alive for a creature card with mana value X or less, put it onto the battlefield, then shuffle.
There's a cartoon called Rocko's Modern Life, and that just reminds me of this. I don't know why. Haven't seen that. Haven't thought of it in years, but that's the first thing I thought of when I saw this card.
Well, they brought it back for like a season last year.
Well, I haven't seen it, but anyway, that's the first thing I thought of this card. Now I can't unthink of it. It's just Greenstone Zenith without the color restriction on a creature.
Yeah, it's Greenstone Zenith without the color restriction. The problem is that like Greenstone Zenith is really good because 1 green mana in addition to the cost. This is 3 mana plus extra. If I want a 4-drop, I have to pay 7 mana.
Well, I feel like that makes it slightly fair because there are 2 ways.
I'm not looking for fair, Martin.
There are 2 ways I can think of this winning. Being your commander, so it's just there until you go, I need a combo piece because I've got the rest of the combo pieces, go and find it for me. No. Or I need Kratos Behemoth, go and find that, swing and win.
Yeah, like it's... If you really want to play like that, like you can just play Naya and play whatever Naya deck you want, and then just have this as a tutor that's in the command zone.
That's what it will be for.
Yeah, which to me is a bit like
fun.
I suppose you can do, but I'm like, I'd rather just play a commander that's like, it's meant to be a commander of the deck. It's not meant to be another thing for the deck to use.
Oh yeah, this will definitely be this is cast once or twice if you're very unlucky. It isn't there to synergize with your deck, it's there to find the bit you need to win.
See, the other way I just thought it was a nice budget builder's friend of, you can't afford or get a Chord of Calling or a Greenstone Zenith because they're $1 now, then you could play this.
True. Doesn't make him look any better in my eyes though. I mean, yeah, in terms of power, yes. In terms of, is he going to be a fun commander or are you just tutoring the Winkling every time? That's what I don't like about it. I know that's how some people play and that's totally fine, but I get bored if you're just repeating the same thing every game.
Yeah, exactly.
So.
Not for us.
The penultimate creature we have is Tola's Clever Conductor. For a white or a blue, a blue, a blue, or a black, you get a 3/1 human rogue. When Tola's Clever Conductor enters the battlefield, it connives. Whenever you discard 1 or more cards, exile them from your graveyard, and when Tola's dies, put the cards exiled into their owner's hand.
So
I find that weird how it's like, when you discard 1 or more cards, exile them from your graveyard, but it goes to their owner's hands. So maybe if someone steals her, everyone gets their stuff back, but it's weird wording.
Being specific. But yeah, again, has the phrase on it, when dies. I don't think this dying is enough to justify it as a commander.
Now, I think you're wrong there.
Oh.
Now, I don't see it yet, but I think there will be a way to abuse her ability. I don't know why, I'm thinking Storm. So, if you're able to loot, that is to draw and discard, most of your library.
Okay.
And you've got Cheerios, loads of things that cost 0, cost 1, you've got lots of reducing things. You then kill her off, maybe with a board wipe, maybe just kill whatever, put your graveyard into your hand, then play everything in your hand and play something with Storm, something that cares about how many artifacts you control or something or other, and just win there and then. I think, again, I can't see it because I don't play that way, I'm not a combo player, but I think there will be a way that people will be able to just go, I win.
Can you do that noise again?
No, I can't.
So, okay, I get what you mean. I can see what you're trying to get at. I don't know that either. For me, on the face of it, it's like, if you really wanted to have a Connives deck, like, I know there's some synergy with it, then fair enough. Again, the idea of discarding cards, like, if you are in a constant discarding looping type deck, then yeah, fair enough. She gets them all back for you, which is lovely. But for me, she just... I'll wait to see what nonsense can be made with her. And we have our final legend of the set to look at. Zeotora the Incinerator.
It's quite a fancy name, that is. I like it.
For 3 generic, 1 black, 1 red, and 1 green, we have a 6/6 demon dragon with flying. At the beginning of your end step, you may sacrifice another creature. When you do, Zeotora the Incinerator deals damage equal to that creature's power to any target, and you create 3 treasures.
So looking at this card, I thought the Squidward meme where it's another Jund legendary dragon with a sacrifice-themed ability.
Doing today, aren't we?
There's loads of them.
Yeah, but but it's a proper thing. If you make a Jund dragon that
the law
sacrifices
is
something,
it has to sacrifice things.
yeah. But then if you do that, the first thing people will do is compare it to Corvold, and this ain't no Corvold.
No, but that Corvold isn't the only sacrifice dragon. There's Prosh. There's other things. The one that's like Chaos Warp, but for everyone's.
I know exactly what you mean.
It begins with a D. Die or something. Anyway, the way I see this is 6 mana for a 6/6 flyer. Not the worst thing. It passes the vanilla test. But saying sacrifice something, make 3 treasure and shoot something. That is pretty good for the cost of sacrificing a creature. And at worst case scenario, you shoot down their flyer so you can just hit them with commander damage until they die.
But then equally, like that's 4 hits of commander damage, because unlike Corvold, Zeotora doesn't buff himself. And like the card design is lovely. Like it's your end step, so you have to play things beforehand. It's a May trigger. Like I've seen Corvold players have to sacrifice lands when they really don't want to, because it's a has-to trigger.
When you say you've seen players, you mean me.
I wasn't going to name names. But it's really good design of it. I just think it's so much better in the 99 of a Corvold deck.
I would agree with you actually on that one. I think 99 potential definitely. I know somebody in particular who will end up playing this as their commander simply for the fact that it's another Jund legend and they have to play every Jund legend. But yeah, like it's strong ability. It's another strong addition to a sacrifice themed deck. But it doesn't have the same pull as, like you say, Corvold or Prosh, where you can repeat the sacrifice process whenever you want.
Yeah, it definitely seems like it's been designed not as a commander, because it's a main set, but it's also had this idea of, look, you can put this in a deck and it gives you value with it. Because even if you just sacrifice one of the treasure that they previously made, you get more treasure.
Oh yeah, it's definitely a case of, I play him, in my end step, I'll sack this a power creature, shoot 8 at your face. Like, it's a game closer, I think. It draws the game to a close.
And that will be it for today's video, guys. I hope you enjoyed it. Which legend from the new set are you most excited about? Whatever your thoughts, let us know in the comments below.
As always, remember you can help out our channel in 4 quick and easy ways. Liking this video, subscribing, hitting the bell icon, and leaving us a comment. I read every one. You can also follow us on Twitter and Instagram for more Affinity info.
That's it from us, guys. We'll see you next time.